Hi, Gary. I know you probably thought you saw the last of me. Too bad I don't follow normal rules, huh? Kind of like you. If someone told you not to do something, but it was attached to your purpose and your goals, would you stop? If they threw a couple of roadblocks in place? I already know the answer to that. So that you don't have to drown in the deep end if you don't choose to. But no matter what, I will find you if I'm meant to give you a message, because that's what I do. 110%, and don't let barriers or blockades or other people's certain processes that they are used to in their company get in my way. I always find a way, because we believe in the impossible being possible, Gary. So I don't ever let something like that stop me.
Gary and Mo, I have a story to tell you, and I hope this all makes it to you and then it makes sense in the end. I'm going to try and make it through without any tears, but if they come, just know it's because I love KW and this problem means that much to me. My name is Alicia Terry, and I'm out of your Orem, Utah office. I need to start by saying thank you, though, for how much your vision for KW Cares, all the trainings, mindset classes have all meant to me. They've changed my life and help me achieve the impossible. Impossible dreams for myself, my family, my community, from being 15 and pregnant and leaving a stable salary job to gamble and go for my dreams, to being rookie of the year, and the office learned to stop calling me crazy. They know that I will stand for truth and justice wherever and whoever. They know that I want to change the world with love and never enabling someone to ever be small ever again. I learned that. It's the way I honor my life's journey and the loss of the love for my late husband by giving him grace and with expected expectations, holding people accountable for their actions. I had to learn this the hard way. I had to be abandoned by half of my family and friends on the day that I spoke up to get him help and hold him accountable. I was blamed for his death, called crazy, called all sorts of evil things that you can think of. Some of these were daily for years. In that I learned not to react to their pain and insecurities. Instead, every time I honor my husband and how he loved them, which meant I was going to always give the olive branch. I was always going to be the bigger person, no matter how ugly it got. Believe me, it got ugly, and it was so incredibly hard, especially when I was watching my 17-year-old daughter lose the same family and friends that she had only ever known while getting the same treatment. But it was definitely one of the best lessons I've ever learned. By doing that, instead of inflicting pain, I realized now I gave myself permission to breathe again while they're still not.
Fragile. They told him she was fragile. They just didn't say she was fragile like a bomb. I didn't realize that me learning all of everything that I've had to learn and all of the pieces to the puzzles was because I am meant to be fragile like a bomb, but it all depends on people's intentions and actions behind it. I know with you, you were meant to see all of my extremes. Misinterpreted my kindness for weakness. My kindness in no way, shape, or form is ever weakness.
And she'd be willing to talk to you as well. But what I'm saying is these are all people that have already seen that KW wasn't willing to support any change or help, which also shows everyone else coming forward is just going to jeopardize their job, the workplace getting worse, and KW not supporting any change. Because that's the only evidence we have.
I do it with 100%, 110%, because that's me showing up for me. I do it for myself, and I do it because when we have a goal and we are the arrow, we don't let anything get in the way. We part the damn seas, and nobody should get in front of it when we do. because that is part of our intimidation, is our determination intimidates any competition out of the way most of the time.
Gary, this is a quote I saw of yours a while ago and it stuck with me. Charisma attracts and character retains. Too many entrepreneurs have a lot of charisma and too little character. Their charisma will eventually betray them. Character means you walk your talk. It's the same as integrity. Character is who you are. Integrity is living that out. Charisma is the talk. Character is the walk. When you have the high charisma and low character, you attract people to normalize them. This is what I believe you stand for, Gary. So I'm asking you both to listen to a story where in the end, I will ask you to walk your talk and have your integrity and show up to help. In saying that, I need to speak my truth and what I have found and seen. I see that KW has radical accountability for numbers and growth. What I realized in my search for
my problems now, it is the bigger problem of, I know how I've been treated for these 2 years, and I was just trying to help KW fix a problem in the beginning and work with you. I can't imagine what anyone else has had to deal with. And that is the pain that's already been caused. I see what you're trying to do going forward. But like I said in my video, I guarantee you there are women that were put in horrible positions with nowhere to go. And I bet you there's probably some rapes in there. Because if this is being allowed here, internationally, you have some narcissists that are using their power over women on a massive scale. That's my problem.
I'm not gonna
Be the mama bear because of who you're hurting. And I'm like a freight train. I go through things. I go through it. So either I can go through it with you to heal it, or I go through it like a destructor. But it's not by me talking crap or doing anything. I use your own actions and systems against you. That is how God has me do it. I don't have to do anything other than showing my truth and authenticity that I sent to you and lay out the evidence and how it was treated. That's where we're at. Because I guarantee you there were past things that you were aware of or people were aware of with Marcus and with Matt, and it was ignored. I was brought in because it was ignored continuously. So I'm meant to help you create a system and a standardized process, because like Chad's hitting brick walls right now and getting stonewalled and can't protect you. He's your attorney, Gary. There should be a standardized process that each person who is in the investigation and holding it, that Chad can go and hold them accountable to and see that it was done the standardized way with no emotions involved, black and white, because one person over here doesn't get a pass if this one doesn't. So, how many times does someone need to screw up with your name involved and get passes before you're willing to say that you're not a part of their journey? Just like I can't be a part of your journey unless you allow me to be. Because like I said, how many do you really think when I start collecting women's stories and names, do you think there's some rapes in there, Gary? Do you think that you might have a major, massive problem on your hands that you are trying to ignore and silence? I do. I know that I barely scratched the freaking surface and had to stop because I knew I would find way too many for me to handle without a staff.
problem. There is no recourse. There is no anything other than now evidence of it getting back to the abuser when someone does come forward. That's all the evidence we have. That is the problem I talked to you about.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear with our action with Seth Campbell, a mega agent, one of the top agents in the system, just got booted.
And I bet you it was probably for less lists of people willing to stand up against them that we started with. That was one person. You had team leaders that got their ass grabbed. You had agents. You have Lee Stern who interviewed them all. You had other mega agents that were on. Those were just the ones that we talked to, not even the ones. But why does that matter? Why does that matter? When you get in trouble as a teenager, you're on your best behavior when you know people are watching you, but does that change what you're doing in secret? Just means you're better at hiding it.
But again, if folks looked at it in the past, I know you're saying that it wasn't looked at properly, but again, this is before my time. People have said that it was looked at and was handled that are outside of the Green family. So
you mean the ones who got the abusers the video in the first place?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
Chad, you have to agree with me. Like, I don't care who talked to it or what. The abuser got information that they shouldn't have gotten. It was not treated correctly. Otherwise, a cease and desist would have never made it to the whistleblower trying to help KW. All of those things are evidence that it wasn't handled correctly.
Well, now that's precisely why we're putting in the field red flags reporting program. That's precisely why. I totally agree with you and get that. And so that's why that program's being implemented.
I get that. But for 2 years.
Much like the attorney, the lawyer, because I am Chad, you're great and all, but I am the attorney that no one sees coming because I have more tools in my toolbox than anywhere in Harvard could ever give you. I need you to man up for Gary because you're his protector. You are his detective. You are his, and that's against anyone else, even within his own company, meaning people that were shady and hid stuff, because you know if I'm getting a cease and desist to silence and evidence got back to people that were enabling the problem, it was handled incorrectly. We know that. So that means, Chad, when they say it was handled, great. You're a detective. You dig into, find the process they used, their notes, the investigation, who they did. Look into every HR complaint that had come in over the Green brothers. Look into how many times and where they came from. Like, we know Marcus came from Arizona. I know there was drama in Arizona that Scott Agnew knew when they moved him here. All of that stuff, when I started asking questions, and Chad, you started asking questions, you were getting stonewalled. Which, Gary, that is the culture you created because you allowed it before. Not knowing. You didn't know you were allowing it before, but now you do. And Chad, his hands are tied when you have corrupt people within your hierarchy that allowed stuff that are now not even allowing your own attorney to protect you. Do you see that? Chad can't even protect you. And so, Chad, that's where I'm saying For you to be the man that Gary needs you to be, you are a freaking detective. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care if they try and ooh and ah and this and that and belittle you because their egos and their fear of you finding out what's happened all in the past, that's what they're terrified of. So they're going to belittle you with their egos out of fear of being found out. So you have probably been shut down from every person that you tried to dig into this with. That's why you started to go try and make change going forward. But again, you can't build on a broken foundation. You can't at all. So
I guess one of my biggest questions is, why does Gary want to keep anybody? I don't care if they are trying to be on their best behavior right now. Why would he want to keep or put them in a higher place of power within KW, knowing what they stand for within the community and the reputation they're causing KW to have?
I mean, my guess is when folks looked at this back in the day and they didn't find causal, need to make a change, that basically the book was closed on it, right? So
when was that? Because I would have been.
I'm just saying, people have said that people looked into this, like, and I know you mentioned Scott Agnew, but he said he did an investigation and met with folks as well and didn't find really any wrongdoing.
When you guys ask them that, do you ask what the investigation is and who they talk to? Because they're talking to Matt or Marcus. That's not an investigation. That's my problem. That's how I got a cease and assist, which just makes me louder. It doesn't make me stop.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And then why would KW support Matt giving me a cease and assist, which is what you guys did?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know if I was around, I wasn't aware of it,
And I get that. I get that you got thrown into this, but there's got to be some kind of accountability for KW. I don't care if you're just getting into the mix. The shitstorm already was going.
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's what I'm saying, though. If people think that that's been closed and that's been done and nothing's been done, do you have something or somebody that I can talk to about the environment now, a recent incident? Doesn't have to be like going on right now, but at least fairly recent, somebody that I can talk to where they can clearly tell me this type of conduct went on, this is what happened to me.
Well, but see, that's what I'm saying is that's just their culture. It's in everything they say and do, whether it is a winking at a chick or making out, like Matt getting caught kissing one of the girls or Marcus getting caught. It is in their DNA and what they see is okay. And then I get these people to come forward, nothing happens, and Matt gets a raise. Do you really think they want to reach out and say anything else? Thinking KW is going to protect them? Honestly, that's my problem. They watched me come to help them, then watched Matt get a raise and Marcus have no punishment happen. When something like this happens, how are you going to be implementing in the future? The office knows that you backed them and something did happen and accountability did take place. Nothing like that happened, and you lost agents over that. Well, and you're continually, because it's who they are and what they stand for. That's the problem. Sorry, you're cutting out. I can't hear you. I got no information unless I called, and Matt got a raise. So please tell me where it looks like KW is supporting the change or supporting the abuser?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear with our action with
Them lying to you, that is in their DNA. So them telling you that I'm the crazy one or any of the above, that was you choosing to believe that, because I know deep down in your heart you didn't. But you also didn't want to deal with it. So then you get to deal with me. And I promise I am a lot less nice when you have ignored the problem, protected the abusers, and gave them a raise and silenced the women that needed your help. KW coming in, when you sent in Mark King to interview people, one, he backed out of the situation because he knew I was not backing down. He knew I would come after him and anyone else that was corrupt in this process. So, in saying that, one, I sent you a private link to a video as a whistleblower. That private link ended up through 30 people in your staff because I have access to the people that got to watch it. I got to see that other people with that private link that had to be sent by you to people got to the abusers. You made it so the abuser, one, got all the information about the whistleblower, which that alone is a problem. And got the information to the abuser. Ask Chad how that works. Is that how that's supposed to work? When somebody comes to you with a problem, do you go and take the information to the abuser and let them go try and silence them outside of your business?
Back to the abuser when someone does come forward. I guess I'm not sure how much evidence Gary really wants. Does he want someone to have been raped and hurt, or is he just okay with losing amazing people to keep shady fuckers? Like, that's the part where I'm totally clueless at his intentions, because how many people need to say it's not okay for it to be a problem?
Always been in the scary deep end, but this is a different kind of scary deep end.
Regrets. And that experience helped shape the person I am today. Knowing when you know better, you do better. You teach us what we focus on expands. I have learned that things we enable and ignore as well, by not having radical accountability and expectations of it, we add our permission by not speaking our individual ethics and integrity, expectations, and what we stand for. By not holding individuals or leaders accountable for their ethics and values, they personally hold and show in their actions, they end up mirroring their unethical exceptions on others that they're supposed to be holding accountable, just like my husband's parents, because of their own pain and not understanding or doing their own work. They gave him permission to not show up for himself or fight. So we end up giving them permission to fail, which adds fuel to any fire. We then enable lies, deceit, corruption be the new foundation. Just like one toxic person on a team can kill the culture. Truth and what was going on was we don't have accountability for character and integrity. We don't hold our leaders to a standard for that, because you can be a liar, cheat, and deceitful in your personal. That's not something you leave at the door. It's part of who you are and the level of right and wrong that you own, because your shame won't let you hold someone else accountable for it. I was informed of issues last year with ethics and integrity within KW. I love KW so much that I started digging like I would with any other company. I included Lee Stern, my mama of Utah, an amazing mentor who I knew I could trust to help me find where the infection was and evidence to prove to you, to cut it out of our culture. She and I were beyond heartbroken at what we found. She and I interviewed many, many people, started uncovering the tip of the iceberg with what has been happening here. I was moving last year, so I had her submit the timeline and information we collected, and she sent it to you, Mo. We still have this day not heard anything back on any solutions or accountability that was done. I've included the email from Lee to Mo below that has the detailed accounts and timeline to what we've uncovered. It doesn't include agents that left that are at other brokerages now because they couldn't handle the manipulation, the corruption, the hierarchy that has grown in some of the Salt Lake and Davis County offices. We have a reputation for the complete opposite of what I believe you and Mo stand for. And in Utah right now, we are losing the amazing pillars of light over the last 5 to 7 years, the ones we had in management and offices across Utah, because they won't stand for it anymore and have not seen any cry for help taken seriously. Many
submitting and not getting responses to see that Lee had the same thing. It didn't matter where she took it. And then for me to get the same treatment, that's me and Lee. We're like freaking soldiers and warriors. That is not someone who has just been raped or abused or neglect. Like, they aren't going to do that, Chad. And that's what I am saying. This 72-hour window, this was for past. Of course, I hope it is going to be better and systems implemented in the future. But how I've been treated and everyone else has been treated, and allowing them to stay and showing the culture that it's allowed because he gets a raise and nothing was done, that is where I am irate. Irate. The only reason that I've had any responses is by me reaching back out. And that is never how it should be.
And I realized one thing that I do need to say is Lee Stern had no idea, one, that I'm doing this, two, that it would have gotten this big, or that I was still probably even working on it. I mean, she probably had a clue because she does know who I am, but ladies, that woman, she is our mama of Utah, but she has always had our back. She has had my back. She has had every woman participating in this person's back, and I cannot even imagine what she must have felt after a huge chunk of her life is given to KW and she goes to Gary and people to get help. Her mentors, the people that she loved and respected and gave half of her life to get no response, to watch the same things I watched. That woman, I am proud that you're my mentor and that you're my mama of Utah and that you protect all of us women if we ever needed you. So, ladies, know she is a warrior. That woman deserves an award. We love you, Lee.
out to her team leader, to Matt, to all sorts of people, with no one to respond to her. No one to respond to top agents that are shedding light. She is doing charities and massive community events that are changing Ogden, Utah. She is a focus and a life-changing light pillar. Those are the ones we are losing. I bet if you look in those offices over the last few years, see how many agents have left that were top producers. They couldn't handle the standards anymore. You have had team leaders that have tried to get recruited. And because of the rumors and everything, because if you're not willing to get groped, then you shouldn't be in one of his offices. That's the joke. To have one of them come here, she's one of the people we interviewed. She had her ass slapped by an agent in front of Marcus for Marcus to laugh. And she went back to her team leader to tell him that the reputation was true. That is not the reputation that I started with KW 8 years ago. And it devastated me when I started digging into it. I was in shock. And I had heard little pieces, and Lee will tell you the same thing. She had had multiple people say little things, but without evidence. She wasn't digging into it. I'm the digger. People open up to me because they know what I stand for. And I am okay with that. I will always be the one that is a safe place for them to have a voice. And I will find a way to get it to the right people. So this is me getting it to the right people to see if your integrity and your character are going to walk the walk. Because right now, you have other brokerages, you have agents in your own office, you have people in other KW offices around the world that
In the thing that Lee interviewed them, the only reason it's 2 years is because of you guys. That's my problem.
I get that, but I mean, is there not anybody that will say something that's not 2 to 3 years old?
It wasn't. It was current when we got it.
No, I get that. I get that current when you got it, but if he's in the same position and the environment's toxic, there should be agents that have left because of that recently.
Yes, and I'm saying
Right.
if you want me to go collect those, I will, but it's not going to be for your case. It will be for mine. Does that make sense? I did 2 years worth of work and gathering, and now funneling back to you again to follow up, even though you were supposed to get back to me after Mega Camp with an update. And if you want me to go get more people and more evidence, that I can do. I stopped for a reason, because it was getting so big and disappointing. I can find more people. That is not the problem. If
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm just saying for us to have to take action.
What does it take for Gary? What would it take for Gary to actually stand up for his ethics and values and put his actual, money where his mouth is? Because these aren't people he would have hired in the first place if he would have done research to see and know what their past history was and their ethics and values in regular worlds. He wouldn't have hired them. So I don't understand why he's having an issue now trying to see past the friendship.
You're mainly talking about Marcus, right? I mean,
no, I'm talking about both, because Matt, him enabling it is even worse than the one who's just screwing everybody and causing issues. The one who's doing a blind eye and ignoring when people are going to him with problems and allowing mega agents to get pushed out because of his brother, that is definitely not somebody who should be in leadership and over anybody.
they brought a corrupt person from Arizona because of their obligation and loyalty to Marcus, not to KW. My loyalty is to KW. And I hope it's with you changing it. I really do. Because I love it. Everything I learned when I lost everything is exactly the pieces of how I pieced myself back together. When I didn't remember how to do anything, when I didn't remember how to dream, because all of my dreams had always been tied into my husband since I was 15. We had been together 17 years. Even in the same boat of not having radical accountability, one person causing an infection that grew and eventually killed the original values and beliefs the foundation was built on. My goal before I'm gone is to heal the foundation as well as any others I see along the way. I included my health story that also tells you my testimony of what KW means to me. I also added my Red Day Impossible mission for you, Mo, for you to know I see both of your hearts and passion, and it helped birth mine. I hope you both know I am willing to blow up my own foundation because of how much I believe in KW and the agents you do attract. I know that by cutting out the infection, we can retain and recruit millions that can help us change the world. I also know that if I'm finding these issues in Utah, You have an accountability problem, Gary, nationwide that will continue to infect your foundation. The foundation and company and dream that you dreamed, created, and blood, sweat, and tears over that changed lives is now belittling and hurting. I would love to help any way I can, assist any solutions to help Utah heal, and nationwide. All you have to do is ask. Because I have a dream that with simple solutions, we can change the world. I actually wanted.
It is, and I mean, I totally understand, and I appreciate actually you bringing this up last summer, because that is the impetus of putting in the red flags reporting. It was clear to me that, you know, if there were these complaints and people at certain levels were the ones that were supposed to be investigating or reaching conclusions on the complaints, that's not the correct process. So in event, you are the impetus of putting this program in place.
Well, that doesn't fix my problem here, but I'm glad to see that something's happening, because I know that there's a lot of women out there that have left KW silent, reached out to HR with no response, or are still mentally not okay because of what happened. That's my problem.
I mean, I can't speak for when I started, but I'm pretty sure that if somebody reached out to HR, that Leslie will take those very seriously. I mean,
maybe now. Amanda and people did reach out. That's in our thing. They did reach out with no response at all from HR. Yes.
Or are you talking about region?
No, they have the submit a complaint on your KWRI, I think is where it is.
Oh, at kw.com.
Where you submit a complaint to HR. Numerous people sent in complaints with no response whatsoever. And allowing mega agents to get pushed out because of his brother, that is definitely not somebody who should be in leadership and over anybody. That's my problem, is both of them. I don't care if it's one or the other. One person who is enabling an abuser is just as bad as the abuser. That's where Gary's at right now, because Gary is enabling them to stay and also have the impression on everyone who's watched it and knows that I turned it in that Gary approves. That's what they're seeing.
I'm fighting for always, because they know it never has to do with my ego or money. It is all based on the highest good of all, and never enabling anyone to be small. My dream is to slowly change the world with simple solutions, and also cutting out any infection in any system I see so we can rebuild it and the world the right way. My impossible dream. By cutting out the infection out of any company, corporation, government system, I know it just makes the foundation stronger. When the infection is cut out and others are able to see what the standards and expectations are in place to be in that position, they mirror that level that they learn. And I had to learn that by losing my husband. We aren't allowed to have any attachment to someone else's journey and their actions, meaning if they make choices that go against the values we hold, then they are released from any obligations for being a leader. Can't be attached to their choices, but I can be attached to mine. I can be attached to me, always giving them an opportunity to speak their truth and choose to change to the same standard. None of us are perfect, and I wouldn't want to be perfect. I believe in everyone embracing our perfectly imperfect journeys, which means when we make bad choices, we have consequences that we don't get to choose. We only get to make the choice of how we react to each situation. I cried a little bit more than I thought I would, but I really hope that you guys hear me. There is so much. I had agents calling me that had left the brokerage, guys that had left the brokerage because they got no assistance, but they were calling to tell me, because they know I stand up for women, that they were appalled by the treatment of women in the offices that Marcus's was running, and that there was no one they could go to even complain because his brother was holding him accountable. Even if you guys have talked to Marcus and Matt, that doesn't fix the problem. There are so many people underneath that are waiting to see the change.
Sure, but you realize, I mean, we kind of need, in order to take action, somebody's going to need some evidence that it just can't be, you know, this happened 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
It happened when I started this process with KW for them to try and ignore me and silence me.
I know, but I'm saying folks are going to say it was looked at.
It wasn't looked at, though. That's the problem. I guess one of my biggest questions is, why does Gary want to keep anybody? I don't care if they are trying to be on their best behavior right now. Why would he want to keep or put them in a higher place of power within KW, knowing what they stand for within the community and the reputation they're causing KW to have?
I mean, my guess is when folks looked at this back in the day and they didn't.
For the highest good while helping people create wealth through real estate as well. I have faith that I will hear from one of you guys next week. I have faith that I believed in KW. Like, people just have others that don't know your wishes of cutting out an infection and bringing it to light, and accountability to a solution is mandatory requirement. It will not. I have no words. The company I believe in and loved wasn't supporting the same things as me. I'm willing to do the hard work to make sure they were enforced and that your character and integrity were going to walk the walk. Unfortunately, if I don't hear from you, I will be forced, just like Johnny, to shed light on it anyways. I always believe in option A and option B. What I spoke of before, option B is the in-house restructuring, accountability, growth, and change. Instead, it would be natural consequences for the other option, which will find each party involved and hold them accountable for their actions. That goes for KW as well. For all the unanswered requests submitted to corporate, KW currently has no source of help or justice in place for agents, employees being abused, shamed, and hurt. In submitting this the way I did originally, with every statement and piece of evidence I have of their emails to KW begging for help, it shows me we don't have an avenue for justice and accountability within our structure. There are only
that came in. She was only here for a few days and got groped. And when you say you asked them if they dealt with it, are you looking at their notes to see what actually was done? Because that's my problem, is nothing was done. And she'd be willing to talk to you as well. But what I'm saying is these are all people that have already seen that KW wasn't willing to support any change or help, which also shows everyone else coming forward is just going to jeopardize their job, the workplace getting worse, and KW not supporting any change. Because that's the only evidence we have. And what they see is okay. And then I get these people to come forward, nothing happens, and Matt gets a raise. Do you really think they want to reach out and say anything else? Thinking KW is going to protect them? Honestly, that's my problem. They watched me come to help them, then watched Matt get a raise and Marcus have no punishment happen. When something like this happens, how are you going to be implementing in the future? The office knows that you backed them and something did happen and accountability did take place. Nothing like that happened, and you lost agents over that. Well, and you're continually, because it's who they are and what they stand for. That's the problem. Sorry, you're cutting out. I can't hear you.
own people and not protect the ones he's asking you to protect. So then marketing plans and everything, and all your own peers, all of your own agents are seeing who you protected, who you gave a raise to, who you allowed to stay in power, and all of that stuff. And you're wanting them to respect those leaders. Do you think they would approve of your decisions and your actions that you made and your choices? We're not perfect, Gary. I am far from perfect. But when I know better, I do better. When you know better now, are you going to do better? Because do you really think your whole company and all the agents and everything else, when they see all of the pieces to the puzzle and where my heart was coming from and how I was treated, and all the way down to Chad and our conversation and everything else, with all the evidence and everything, do you think they're going to respect any of those leaders that are attached to that anymore? Do you think they're going to respect any of the leaders you choose going forward if they are aware of how you treated this situation? Do you think that they might have a lot more stories to come out that will be collected of other people being silenced, other people being treated wrongly, and everything within KW? That is the collection for the class action. I'm the infection in between, where mama is doing like the holding you accountable. Because Gary, who holds you accountable? Everybody deserves an accountability partner. You teach that, right? Who's holding you accountable, Gary? Because I am not one of those that's going to sugarcoat it and kiss your ass. That's not me. I will love hard, but I will also tell you the truth no matter what. Always. Always. But I also am a fierce, kind of intimidating, but also can be totally underestimated because I can be soft and squishy and all love. Tool that he was willing to give you as a secret weapon to help clean your house so that you can cut out that infection, so that I can help you double your business within the next 5 years and be a pillar of light. Because right now, I know you're exhausted. I know you don't even know where to start. I know that your own attorney can't protect you because of the culture that has been allowed. And Gary protecting the abuser and trying to silence the whistleblower, because you know if that is the case, everything going forward is that much more of damages that will be paid out. But this is all up to you. This is free will. You can choose class action. You can choose and think that I will not come for you. You can choose and think that I don't have big balls. But I was on the, I will just go take down all of the people that were trying to silence and hurt women, period. And I didn't care what destruction happened in the meantime, because there is nothing someone can say to me that changes my ethics, my values, and what I stand for. I don't care about somebody trying to silence me. It makes me louder. So again, my purpose in this life is to go take down people that hold people down because of money, because of their ego, because of greed, and they perpetuate the problem. That is my purpose in life. I know this now and have for the last year or two. I used to do it in my spare time. I am no longer allowed to do that. I am so disappointed, Gary. I have no words for the disappointment that I feel, because I came to you because I did love KW. I don't lie. I don't stand up for anything that is based on money. I don't care about the money. I care about people standing up for what's right. Having the balls to actually stand up for what's right, to fix a problem. So I know that when I die, I create a legacy and change in this world that will stay. My name will mean something. What's yours gonna mean, Gary? Because right now, I guarantee you my balls are 100 times bigger than yours. Lost trust in. The difference is you can choose to see me as a lifeboat, or you can see me as another attack. That's your choice. But you need to take a good look in the mirror to see where your intentions are, Gary. Are you wanting to sweep stuff under the rug, or are you wanting to fix a problem? Are you wanting to not admit that you made bad choices in the past and hide that, to have a jury of your peers be your judge, jury, and executioner in public? Both ways for you. One is a destruction of your reputation by your own peers being your judge, jury, and executioner, that by the time it even makes it to be the class action, KW is not the same place it used to be, and it doesn't survive. And that is not what I want. Because I do believe, like I told you in the very first video, KW helped save my life. It is a beacon of light. But right now, it is full of narcissists that are sucking the women dry and abusing their privilege and their power. You weren't meant to be one of them, Gary. But
Yep. Hi, Keller Williams. My name is Lelena Rabari, Senior Editorial Manager, and I have the honor and pleasure today of speaking with Mark King, KWRI President. And our topic today is creating a life of limitless possibility. What does that mean to you?
I think it aligns with everything we do at Keller Williams. This is an abundant mindset company that thinks bigger. Gary's vision's so big, it houses all of us, right? This company's great at finding your genius and putting you in a place to succeed.
So talk a little bit about the career. Where did it all begin for you? How'd you get here?
So I got into investing in real estate and failed miserably and decided I need to get my real estate license so that I could learn more about it. And what I love about this company is if you grow where you're planted, if you show talent in an agent role, then this company will find you. You can't hide.
Grow where you're planted.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what that means.
If you ask my grandfather, who's my mentor, he's from that generation. He's 94 years old, still drives himself to the senior center every day, lives on his own, all those good things. But he was someone who believed in hard work. And so I agree with that thinking, but I also think that there is an opportunity with the people you surround yourself with, the company you're with, the way you think. If you wake up every day and you challenge the status quo and you believe in something bigger than yourself, there's nothing you can't do.
So we've talked before and you shared your mission with me, which I want to share with other people. I'm going to read it. To challenge the limited mindset of a predetermined destiny. What does that mean?
It means that the way that I grew up very poor. And the people nearest to me believed that if you're born a certain gender or color or religion or whatever the case is, you're just stuck there. And it's been determined for you. This is who you're going to be and how you're going to act. And, and I've never been the person who has been a conformist. I ask the question, why? Why can't I go be a movie star or an athlete or a business person? Why can't I get ahead? Why can't we own a home? We help people live the American dream. Coming from where I came from, we briefly lived in a car. Home ownership means something different to me. This is where you make me tear up. What we do matters. And so, challenge the limited mindset of a predetermined destiny means anyone can do anything. The other thing that it does is every day you wake up, there's a new world of opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what lesson have you learned recently that's defining the way that you're operating today?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. You're never done growing. Working with Gary is a constant mindset challenge because he's gonna push you to think bigger. And I'll give you a great example. We were having a great discussion about
Shamelessly stole it from my dad. I watched him, and through his career, everything that he did is that he made people better by bringing them together. The secret is get everyone in and then get them to actually genuinely want to be together, want to work together, that like each other, but also understand that they're going to hold each other accountable and those things. So even as we start to think about harnessing the power of our team, is being very inclusionary, whether it's race or sex or it's just thought and how we show up. But what we want to do is maximize everybody's individual values and who they are, and then put them together so that we can create extraordinary things.
I'm really glad that you said
Hi, Gary. So, I'm going to go over a few things that are some of the screenshots and stuff that I'm including in my video. On your Inman report, it talks about how 4 quarters worth of KW agents, it had been declining. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. It's not about you getting new agents. Your focus being on the numbers and pushing the market centers and team leaders to keep recruiting and all of that. We need to have screening processes for the market centers you're allowing to open. You need screening processes for ethics and standards and all of that for who they are, what they're willing to stand up for, even stand up to you for. If you don't have that, you are losing the good agents. It doesn't matter how many you bring in, they're always going to have an expiration date. So how are you interviewing all the ones that are leaving? Because that is your golden nugget to find out what you could change. Because what I have seen, even just looking through testimonials and reviews and all of it, it's all about them not caring about the agents that they have there. There's nothing in place that keeps the ethics and that there. They do the facade to get them in the door, but that doesn't keep talent. You know that. Not to mention, Mark King, I respect you and love you as a person, but as a leader, for anybody in your think tank who's coming up with the new ideas for you for changes and when you have problems, if he wasn't able to go back to you and stand up and say, this is not right with my situation, again, that's a leader that is too scared to tell you the truth. That isn't a leader. A leader is someone who stands up for their ethics. Remember, charisma attracts character is the walk. They don't have the character built in them. They are not a leader. Period. You need to look at the leadership you have in place. Who is telling you the honest truth in your think tanks to come up with solutions? Because right after I saw the four quarters of decline, you're adjusting profit share based on fear, because that's what that looks like, because you built KW with your formula and all of it to make sure that KW was different. So you're taking away pieces that were your dream because you're losing agents. Maybe that's not your problem, Gary. Your problem is retaining talent. Your problem is the leadership you have in place that's over talent. Talent is never going to be have a ceiling, and it's never going to have a cap. And if they stand up for what they believe in, then they're never going to be okay with the leadership. They are going to butt heads or leave. Sound familiar? Because that's what's happening. Your golden nuggets are the ones that are leaving, that you should ask, what could you have done better? What was their problems? Because that is huge. Taking away profit share and the things that make you KW, that is not your solution. Cleaning house, spring cleaning, that is your solution. Putting leadership in there that's actually willing to tell you the hard stuff and not worry about how you will react. Because sometimes as a leader, Gary, we don't like decisions we made in the past. But when we know better, we do better. Otherwise, that's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Same reason why I know that I wanted to never get to this level, but I knew I couldn't send more to you and expect a different result. I needed the ladies to have a voice and make it louder than apparently you were willing to listen with just me. I still hope to fix this problem, but it's not something you can do alone, and it's not something you can do with people that help perpetuate a problem or fed into the fear-based of how to get bigger numbers. You need to worry about retention of talent, and to have that with powerful women, there has got to be some changes, because powerful women do not stay under narcissistic men or in companies where it's not safe, where they don't feel seen, where they don't feel heard, and they are not supported. And I don't think you want a company full of all narcissistic men, because that is not a good atmosphere either. So hopefully this helps you see, because now I hope you see that you can't see the problem. That's why you promoted the ones you did, which again is a habitual thing. I found testimonials of the same thing where women came forward and then they watched the person they turned in get a promotion. This is not my case that I came in for to watch him get a promotion. That is not the one case. You have many. That's a problem. That is a huge problem that needs to be looked at.